What's up, folks? Sean the Average Angler. We're back out here in the garage, the fishing shop, whatever you want to call it, prepping for the tournament, which is now, I leave in 12 days. 12 days away. So yesterday we were out here for, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 hours, a long time. I was wore out. We are prepping for essentially the unknown, mostly due to weather changes in the springtime, and you really need to prepare for just about everything. But one of the average angler's favorite things to throw is the good old jig, and this is what I'm tying on right now. This is Johnny C's Jigs, 1/2 ounce KC Craw, and I really like the KC Craw, which is why you see these were ordered in bulk. And here is the KC Craw, and I'm going to tell you why I choose this one to start with. Doesn't mean we're going to end with it, but we are starting with it. And that's because it kind of covers the gamut of a lot of different forage, right? Could be bluegill, could be a crawdad. But this just is one of my confidence baits, and we're going to be rigging it up here. This is one of 25 rods that I'm rigging, and I know you probably hear that number and think, holy cow, why the heck do you need 25 rods? Well, I don't really, but what it does is, since I really don't know what I'm going to be doing when I get there, I mean, I have an idea, right? But conditions, stage of the fish, all that kind of stuff, don't know until I get there. So we just prepare for everything. Pre-spawn fish, especially females, will eat crawfish as they're prepping to spawn. So we're just kind of covering our bases. Nothing would make me happier than to get on a jig bite where I can work patiently in staging areas and load up the boat with big pre-spawn females. Now the tournament essentially over the course of a week, so things change a lot. So part of having and taking so many rods, it's not necessarily that they're in the boat, but it's because we'll need to adjust throughout the week. Things will change. It's springtime and the cycle of the fish will change. So we're just going out to be prepared. If you enjoy the content, subscribe down below. It really helps the channel and it's free. Appreciate you. Now in this video, I really want to talk to you about jig fishing. And let me grab a trailer here. And this is going to go a little against what I normally put on for a trailer. Since I'm looking for big pre-spawn fish, I'm going to go with a baby Paca Craw. This color happens to be called Kentucky Special, which looks like green pumpkin blue, and the other side looks sort of amber with blue. Maybe that's just because the blue's in it, whatever. But the Paca Craw has a ton of action when it's moving. It's really why I'm choosing the Paca Craw. I don't know if we'll stay with it. We're gonna start with it and just see where we go. We need to get a feel for what's going on, and if I can get them to eat the Paca Craw. There's our finished product. Nice good meal for a big pre-spawn fish. And I am changing my setup a little bit for this time of year, so we'll go over that a little bit. Normally, I'm fishing the jig on the iRod Air 753. Well, in this case, we're going to step it up a little bit. And this is the iRod Quercus 744 Heavy. A little more power, and it's shorter. The length isn't really the relevance here. It's really a little more power, a little more oomph. But with that, we are paired with 15-pound YoZuri Hybrid. You'll see the 15 YZ, YoZuri Hybrid. So It is a fluorocarbon coated copolymer. We are paired with a Daiwa Tatula special edition, 60 years. This was a 60-year anniversary edition, 8-to-1 Daiwa Tatula 100. 8-to-1 to take up line really fast, not to fish the bait fast, just to pick up line fast, because a lot of times when they eat this, they will come at you. You need to be able to pick up that line and drop the hammer on them, because you don't want to take a chance of losing that fish. Now, some of you may be wondering, why not the Bass Union? Well, it's not really determined that we're not going to throw the Bass Union, but the Bass Union is a little bit more of a finesse jig. You see the hook there compared to that one. We got a little bit more bite, a little bit more bulk. This one's really trimmed down. I just happened to grab that one. There you'll see. The hook is a little bit bigger. Okay, plenty stout enough. It is not a braid hook. Okay, adjustments can be made later on. We're going into this tournament looking for bites. We are looking for bites to get us in the 30+ pound a day range, because Clear Lake is fishing phenomenal for big fish. The fish are really up, weights are up. They've been up all year. In order to compete, you're going to have to figure out a way to catch some big fish. And what better way to catch big fish than a jig? Now let's talk about where I'm going to throw the jig. And if it's going to be a player in this tournament, it is going to be on, most likely, staging areas. Now I say most likely because things happen. It can always be different than what you think. But odds are that if I get on a jig bite that's going to be productive for me in the tournament, it will be on a staging area. Now in a staging area, I'm looking for a few things. One, I want some rock. Really need some rock, and it needs to be in the proper depth, which I'm going to say is going to be in that 10 to 14 foot range. And again, whether these are going to be productive areas is really going to depend on the weather and the water temperature, because we are going to be on a full moon. Now, with that full moon, I think regardless, some of the fish are going to move up and spawn. If it's a cooler full moon, then some of those fish are going to hang out and hold in those staging areas. Now, if that's the case, finding that jig bite for this tournament can be very, very key. We're going to look for it. We're going to see if it's going to be a player, and then we'll just have to adjust as time goes. You do want to start looking at opportunities to catch these bigger fish. And if you find a staging area, boy, you can get right fast, because we're talking groups of fish anywhere from, say, 5 or 6 to 30 or 40, depending on the staging area you find, of fish waiting to move up to spawn. And while they're waiting, they need to eat. They need to keep eating, because of those eggs, and because of what they're going to do when they move up to spawn is very traumatic for the fish. Okay, they don't eat for a period of time, and they are doing a lot of work. So for a bass, that's really out of their realm. Only time of year they do that, not eat part. So they need to prepare. And crawdads provide a lot of protein. And most of the fish I've been catching have really red mouths. I have no evidence to prove that that's from eating crawdads, but it's been common knowledge or common myth that that is what it's from. I'm going to be playing with the jig. It's a great time of year to fish a jig. It is not the best route for covering water. The jig needs to be fished, as far as covering water goes, somewhat slowly. I say as far as covering water because it's not like a crankbait, a glide bait, or a chatterbait, or even a spinnerbait, where you're chunking and winding and you're covering water. In those cases, you're out looking for a bite. you're looking to get a bite, and then you can always slow down in the area where you get bit and try and figure it out, learn more about it. Now the other bait that you can use, and I've got some out here getting ready. I actually cut these off because we will be switching up to that color. That's spring craw. And the LV is another great way to cover water. And then once you get bit, you can slow down. If you have forward-facing sonar, a lot of times when that LV goes through and you're yo-yoing, the fish will move and show themselves if they're on the bottom. So that can be a time when you know that it's time to slow down, pick up that jig, throw that jig in there, and see what's there. All right? So get yourself a jig, pair it with a nice trailer. I'm starting out big in this case. The Paca Craw is not really big, but it's got those big flappers, a lot of action, a lot of movement. And if that is too much, then I will switch up and go to the Yamamoto Flappin Hog. Okay, the 3.75 Yamamoto Flappin Hog, probably one of the best jig trailers of all time. Thanks for watching. If you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button. I'm Sean, the Average Angler. We'll see you on the next one.